Welcome back. You just got done watching the beginning, the middle. This is the end. I'm going to tell the end. Again. So I parked the car. And I walked into the woods of New Mexico, fully aware that I have to sacrifice myself. As hard as it is to believe and as hard as it is to explain, 100% I know that I'm walking towards my death. That is it. That's the truth. I had to kill myself in order to save these people in the car. That is what's going on in my mind. That's what's going on in my heart. That's what's going on. So I jump over these borders that are meant to degrade the... I can't even use the right words right now. I'm walking into Native American land. I'm walking on the soil that isn't ours. This is what's that word that one native said a long time ago to me? Sacred. I'm walking over sacred land. I'm not supposed to be here. This isn't land I'm supposed to walk on. And I'm walking over these black fences on rocks. And while walking, I'm sitting here, I'm willing to give up my car and everything. I was willing to give up it all. And I walk out there with this hoodie, this thin ass hoodie. It's super thin, you can't tell, but this is like a t-shirt. And I was wearing a camouflage hoodie on top of this, which is the one he was wearing, ironically. And I have no gloves, no hat, tennis shoes, and like sweatpants. In 19-degree temperatures. And it is a full moon in Cancer at this point. Full moon in Cancer. 4. The fourth sign. Number 4. The day adds up date-wise. It was the 27th. 1/27/2021 equals 6, which is my birth number. I was born at 11:58 a.m. That also equals 6. Born 4/21/97. That also equals 6. 6 is like a very powerful number. Every time I see it, it's usually that or 9. Anyway, so I'm walking, and I look up, and a girl told me, a Libra Aries woman, weeks earlier, was telling me about how she saw the stars moving. And I said, "Do you mean aliens?" And she goes, "No." Okay. And now I get it, because I look up, and the stars and the moon were dancing and moving to my will. Call me crazy. That's fine. And I'm sitting here laughing, because I know I'm dead. 12:21. Look at the clock. 12:21. 6. I know I'm dead. I wanted to say goodbye to all the people. There were so many things happened in that car. I looked him in the eyes before I left. I said, "Listen to this." And I clicked play on an audio tape that my friend Jay sent me. I never heard it. He just sent it. But it doesn't matter, because I know what's happening. And in the audio tape, I hear my friend say, "I love you, bud. I don't know why, but I got to tell you, I love you." And everybody was telling me how they loved me. And I clicked play on my audio tapes that I listened to 29 times of Kevin Trudeau, "Your wish is your command," where all this stemmed from. All this started from that. That was in my car. And when I clicked play, it said the right words. Everything, it was in your face. You couldn't look anywhere, do anything without this shit hitting you in the face of what's really happening. And it was so obvious. I parked my car and walked through the woods ready to die. And I gave up everything I had, ready to die, and know it was just to save these people that were, at the time, possessed by outside influences that wanted us all dead. Because there was a shift of energy here. It was too high. There had to be a counterbalance. And I'm walking through the woods laughing as I'm following this path. And the guy said, follow the path. And I'm walking, and I start following, I'm following a deer trail. And this trail led me to a road where I could have decided to stay on the road and put a thumb out. But that's not what it told me to do. It told me to go this way. And so I start walking, and there's this gigantic square tunnel. There's a road that goes over it, but I'm walking through this tunnel. And it's dark, and I'm sitting there thinking, I get it. I walk through the valley of death. I fear no evil. So I walked through this tunnel where I cannot see any of my footsteps. I could be falling through a hole any minute. I get to the other side of this tunnel in New Mexico at night in the storm with the full moon in Cancer. And I look at the graffiti. And on the other side of the tunnel, there was a skeleton. As in, here's the tunnel, I walk out, and then there's the concrete pads, and I'm looking at it. There's a skeleton, an evil eye staring at that skeleton. And then over here is a mountain with a feather. And what I took from that was, I just walked through that tunnel. There was darkness and evil in that tunnel. I walked right through it, couldn't fuck with me. I was feeling so good. I was willing to sacrifice myself. I was feeling loved, and I was appreciating everything. I was appreciating my life. I was appreciating everything that happened up to that point. I was content. I was ready to die. I was talking about things that I was so happy to have seen in this life. Because I was there. I was going to die. I was ready for it. So, I was just sitting there thinking about things I loved. But when I looked at that, I realized the eye is focused on that tunnel, but it ain't looking at the mountain. And I look at the mountain, and I go, you want me to walk towards that mountain in 19-degree weather? I said, well, I'm meant to die. I'm meant to die. Okay. So I start walking towards the mountain. And on the way, I saw many things that I can't describe and explain due to time constraints. But one of the things I saw was lights. And right now, to be honest with you, when I look back, I don't even know if they were real. One of them looked like a physical light that would be a sign. It was a red dot, a red dot, a red dot, a red dot. This red dot would always stay lit. And the other three would come off and on. And I figured out a pattern that when I thought about that specific pattern, that was the pattern the lights decided to choose, which was 1, 2. It was 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I started saying things like, I am. I know I am. And I was looking at things, the stars, the moon, the trees, the plants, everything. I was. I became fully aware that I was all these things. That I am everything around me. I've heard that speech. I believed in that speech before. But I never was in the position to actually see it and understand. And I was understanding it now. Which is I am all that is. As crazy as that sounds. And I was guided while walking towards this mountain to a railroad track. Follow the path. So I stayed on the path of the railroad track. Basically in the direction of this mountain. Horizontal with it, but going to an end of it. And then I look over and I see a path led, just a path. Just an area where there wasn't trees and the snow led in through the trees. And I walked that way. And then I saw, again, animal paths. And I walked on those. And then I saw the electrical power lines and being stopped. The car went by and my battery just hit low. I'm being stopped from telling all this story. Well, still going to try. I saw the shadow of the power lines. That was a path. I walked that. I walked on this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. This path and that path. All which made no goddamn sense besides the fact that I felt like it made sense. And I walked that. And then I started walking through the woods onto this mountain. with houses that were so weird, different. I jumped and walked past all kinds of things that I am skipping because those things are too important and too valuable just for me. I think some kids are hugging over there. That's so cute. And they're playing and they're running up to their house. That's cute. It's beautiful. Anyway, I ended up leading myself through the woods in the snow, cold, freezing. Not enough strength to turn around. At this point, it was pretty much keep walking and die. You couldn't turn around at this point. And I walked past houses talking to myself, laughing, like, oh my God, you want me to go this way? Oh, fuck. And then a sound would happen, so I knew that's where I had to go with this and that. And then it led up to a point, after walking past all these houses in the woods, where I was told to walk up to a tree. So I walked up to a tree, and I looked at the tree like I was looking through the conifer trees, like a Christmas tree. And it really became a Christmas tree because I saw bright lights through the green, the conifer tree, the pine needles. And I saw lights, and so I leaned outside the tree, and those lights were a house with Christmas lights on it. And I walked up to that house. And there was a sign on the wall it was a wooden cut thing from wood. Somebody hand carved a design, which when you looked at it, based upon how you perceive things, kind of like an ink blot, I saw a woman holding the sun. So I knew that I had to lift my hands above my head. And then something told me that it was this house. And I was standing with a perfect circle of objects around me. And I'm sitting here looking at this house saying, this is the house? And then the wind blew and hit an object that hit against the door. I said, oh, fuck, is it really this house? Bum, bum, bum. Oh, it's this house, isn't it? Bum, bum, bum. It's this house. Then out of nowhere, 2 dogs rush out of this house through a doggy door. And one of them was half wolf, half husky. And it ran straight to my dick. It literally touched my dick. And I knew it was going to bite my dick off. It was going to literally start tearing me up. And it ran right to my dick to tear my dick off. And I felt no fear. Only love, for I knew I was that dog. And I was everything. And I loved everything. And so these dogs barked and howled and just ready to kill me, but couldn't. And they were sitting there dancing around me for about 5 minutes before some old lady answered, opened the door and said, who are you? What are you doing? And I yelled, I was guided here. And I knew that my hands above my head didn't matter. What mattered was I had to be willing to give up my hands. I had to be willing to lose my hands in the cold. And they hurt. Oh, they were on fire. Boy, let me tell you, it was the most painful experience. My hands still feel weird right now. Days later, they don't feel the same. And there was a moment where I wanted to warm them up, and the fear hit me. And the dog actually touched me again, the wolf. And I stopped, and the dog continued to do the same movements of I'm about to fuck you up, but this time couldn't touch me again. And lo and behold, I carried with me nothing but a water bottle and my wallet, which I thought was in the car when I shouted to them, take the money and leave. I had my wallet with me. Killing the story, hurrying it up. She came out, pointed a gun at me. I told her I meant no harm, that I was guided here. And that she threw my wallet. Classic scene like you see in a movie where, all right, you're the hostage. I'd get the gun at you. Walk over here, walk over there. Let's look at the wallet. Nicholas Allen Dyer. I'm thinking, thank God, because I just scraped a dope line with that same ID. And if any of those other fuckers touched it, it might be gone. But it was there. And, and she leads me to the door to wake up her son. And her son wakes up, and I'm being told how I shouldn't have made it. How those dogs are trained to kill. How the fact that I wasn't dead from those dogs is actually one of the only reasons why I wasn't shot on sight. The fact that those dogs didn't kill me was really the biggest indicator in their life that they should listen to what I have to say and not shoot me on sight in sacred land that I do not belong in, and they have total right to kill me. So, with these, where's my cigarettes? I'm sorry. My addictions. I don't even know where they are now. Oh, wow, oh, there. So, I'm led through the snow. She throws me a hat, which I take and twist up around my hands to keep them warm. And I'm kept with my hands above my head, and they tell me to open the gate and all this stuff. They leave me around with guns, pointing at them. When I meet the kid, his name was Drew. His name was Drew. Drew gives me a cigarette. He knows. Right after meeting me, he could tell that I mean no harm. And he was very much aware of the fact that since the dogs didn't rip me up to pieces, one of them which was pregnant, and he even said that he was surprised because she just had a litter of puppies and she should have killed me. Not the wolf, the other one. But either way, I should be dead is so obvious in these eyes of these people that the fact that I wasn't, they let me into the house. It was an adobe. Adobe, I think I'm saying that right. It was a self-contained house it was so beautiful. You could only hope to ever have achieved something like this in your life. It was such a beautiful home. It had solar panels on the top. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And there's so much beauty in this story. I could talk about it for days and weeks. But I have to kill it. It's just so shitty. That's what I gotta do. I gotta kill this story. I'm not meant to talk about it all. And so I'm led inside, and we sit down and talk. And the guy, Drew, I'm sitting here saying some words. I mentioned Kevin Trudeau. This dude knew him. He ate with them. He chilled with them. He hung out with them. He was friends with them. I finally met somebody who met the guy, my mentor. I finally met somebody. I had to travel all the way across America, all the way to New Mexico, and walk blindly to my death in order to meet this guy who knows Kevin Trudeau. He knew him. He knew him. This is such a good indicator. I was like, oh, and that alone is worth my death, I swear. For that man saved me in his own way. And so to kill the story and save some of that beautiful memories for myself, sorry. It all led to us having an amazing conversation where they called the cops. I told them to call the cops. They were sitting there going, well, you can't sleep here. And all. I said, call the cops. And he looked at me all weird, like, really? That's what you want me to do? And I go, yes. I'm supposed to be dead. I'm supposed to be dead at this point. I don't give a fuck. Let's go to prison for life. I'm supposed to be dead. If Kevin Trudeau is serving his 9th out of 10 years in prison for writing a book, and I'm supposed to be dead right now, call the cops. I guarantee if he could handle that, I can handle this. And so the cops come. They pick me up. I blow the mind out of the cops that showed up. They are quite aware of the situation to a degree and aware that I should be dead. One of the cops is like a local there. He's very aware that I should be dead. If I were to have been seen or heard by any of the houses I was openly talking to myself to when I walked past, I would have been shot on sight. It was so obvious and weird that it blew his mind. So I said a couple things to fuck him up before I left. And he dropped me off at 4, count 'em, 4 hotels in Las Vegas. When I got dropped off, I walked into a hotel. Didn't have money to buy a hotel, so I walked out. I didn't have to try the other 3. It was good. And within about 5 minutes, my ride pulls up. The dude who I dipped. And he was heading to the Love's truck stop. So was I. That was my next decision after I got out of that hotel. I saw the word Love's with the huge heart. Ironically, when I was walking through the woods, when I looked at the moon, I could make it to where the light from the moon bended itself into a perfect heart. I could do that with my mind. I walked through portals and gateways I never thought I could, walking through that sacred land. I got to pet the very wolf. That wolf dog became mine for that time period. And now I know why my blanket, if you see my other video, is a wolf. There's too much to the story. There's so much of it. But to kill it off and tell more of it real quick, I got dropped off at hotels that I could not afford. And then picked up on my ride, who then decided to go to Colorado. And on that drive, we parked really quickly, right around the same area that those woods were. And we pulled off on the side of the interstate, and we could still see that sacred mountain. And there was also something else we could see. I could see lights in the woods and the hills that weren't there. Lights that normal people couldn't see. We called them fires when Alex talked because he could see them too. It fucked us up because he wasn't ready to admit these things. Too much hit him. He was not ready to admit the things that he could even see. And so I followed the path. I became a pathfinder. I fucking leveled up, you could say. And I could see all these fires in the distance. And I could, at that time, use my mind and distort images in reality. Which makes sense why all these stories about people getting lost in the desert coming back crazy. But they come back. I came back. I officially hit insanity. And I remember his dog jumped out of the car and ran. And he looked at me and goes, "Why didn't you catch him? You were right fucking there." And he walks up and he slapped me across the face. And I looked at him and I said, "I love you." Which got weird, I ain't gonna lie. One of the things I said while walking through those woods was, "Save Alex." And he even admitted that I said his name twice. He heard me say his name twice. And I did. I said his name twice while walking through those woods, and I screamed it with power. It didn't make a lot of noise, but I screamed it with power. And his dog runs out. And I said, "Don't worry, they'll take care of him." He's sitting here, can't believe in any of this shit. Can't believe his dog just ran away. Can't believe, because his dog's got hit by a truck. His dog got hit by a truck. If you watch that other video, you'll notice a truck backing up after I run and save that dog. And after sitting in the car, and I'm watching this dude, I'm looking at him, I'm in the passenger seat looking this way at him. And it was the moment he was willing to leave that dog. I literally looked at him and said, how teachable are you? What are you willing to do right now? How much do you love that dog? Do you really want that dog back? And it was the moment he gave up and accepted it, that dog would never return, that I instantly, because it's just how it is and how I am, reach over and touch the dog's head that I didn't know was there. I looked over and go, "There you are." I started petting him because he popped back up right in time. And again, Alex, being where he was, couldn't accept this. And the dog got in the car and we drove. And headed on to all sorts of other journeys. That was day 1, you could say. Day 2 and day 3, each day involved police. Each day involved cops. I was the second day in Fresco, Colorado. And we literally got in a fight that he was literally asking for his knife because he was unaware that he needed to kill me. And I was quite aware that he was trying to kill me. And the cops even said, "You're not allowed at the Ramada Inn anymore." And I said, "I was never in this hotel. We just pulled over to fuck with our car." And they go, "No, we know that you have a room. You, a guy and a girl, have a room here." The girl was in an emergency hospital. She wasn't even present. So I got dropped off at 4 hotels one day by cops who have my ID. I didn't get my ID back. And then the next day, I'm the peace dealer. I love you, buddy. Anyway, and then the next day, I'm being told by cops I'm not allowed. I was dropped off at hotels. Now I'm being told I'm not allowed back into a hotel that I didn't have a room in. But they have evidence that it was me, another guy, and a girl. Though not all 3 of us were ever at that building. I have destroyed reality. I swear to God. It's so hard to tell the story. It's too good. It's too long. I was told by Mr. Johnson, the cop that was there at that Ramada, backing up a little bit, that day, I saw a cop. And I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He looked at me and went, "Good." And I said, "Anything crazy happened yet?" And he goes, "No." I said, "Don't worry, the day ain't over." Later, that was the cop first on scene at that Ramada Inn during that big fight that me and this dude have that was so escalated that everybody that called the cops and was around was quite aware that one of us was going to die. And that was the cop on scene. The one with the highest belief level. 3 days I dealt with cops, and all 3 days there was circumstances, situations, and events that could have played out horrible. I never had a driver's license, besides that first time. I could have reported my car stolen by that guy, but I didn't. The second time, he could have got us with assault charges, but he didn't. And the third time, the third day, the next day, after picking up that girl from another hospital, we dropped her off, we went to a hospital, got her more Suboxone, left, went to Grand Junction, Colorado, was sitting next to the Golden Gate gas station, and we got in a fight, which led to my key being broken inside my car. The key in my car broke. No more ride. No more vehicle. He got out, I got out. I'm really killing the story. It isn't exactly how it went down. I kicked him into the side of the fucking door because he promised he would never lay hands on me again. After that promise didn't keep long. He hit me in the face. I said, "Fuck you." Got him to the door. Got out. Came back. Left. Realized my phone was in his hands because he stole my phone. Leaned in through my sunroof and yanked my phone out of his hands. And for a Libra moon like me, that I don't like to fight. As a Cancer rising in the 29th degree, I'm not really a fighter. And as a Taurus cusping on Aries, I'm not much of a fighter. And since my Saturn is in Aries, it makes sense why I broke the boundaries of reality. Because Libra is exalted in Saturn. And I had to deal with Aries energy unlike ever before. And by mastering that, it makes sense why I destroyed reality. I could see through things. Not going to get into all that. The point is, he's on his journey now. I don't even know if Alex is alive or dead. The moment he left, situations and circumstances played out to where I got a ride home from the very guy that gave us that blessing. And my car that key was broken to, where my audio tapes, one of which is stuck inside the CD player. Well, a guy was there, and there was a guy there who told me how to get my car into neutral, which helped push it to the side. And I looked at him and said, "Do you need a car?" And he looked at me and goes, "Well, if it's free." And I go, "Oh, yeah." So we slept in that car that night, waiting on that ride from Missouri. The next day, when my ride was coming in, he came in, and we got into that car, and I left my audio tapes of Kevin Trudeau. Remember what I told you about Drew and me traveling all the way across America just to meet this guy who met him? And my whole life really started from those audio tapes. Well, that guy who I said who could have my car, within the short time period of like 12 hours from my car being pulled to the side and getting picked up the next day, got into a head-on collision in his truck. So now he doesn't have a car. So I traveled across America, had an experience that got me off drugs because I died, and now I don't want to do drugs anymore. I really don't, besides these cigarettes. I don't even want to smoke pot. So I went out on a journey to get sober. I got sober. I left my car. The guy who's taking my car gets in on a head-on car collision, destroys his car, and gets my audio tapes with his new car. So hopefully he's teachable enough to realize that he's the one I've been waiting for to pass down my tapes. That was done to me. His name was Doyle. Blank Doyle, last name. A lot of D's here, I know. So, all in all, it was great. I don't know what happened to Alex, but he's in the right place. He took his hound dog and went off on his own adventure. If he lives or dies, that's his own decisions. I think he's alive. I don't know, though. Probably be hearing about it eventually. I didn't know it, but due to that whole circumstance of how it all played out, I was more connected to him than anybody on this planet. I've never been more connected to anybody. It was like even the cop, Mr. Johnson, Officer Johnson, the one I said hi to. Have you seen anything crazy? No. Later on, we pulled up. He even said, "Are you guys in a romantic relationship?" I said no, but I looked at him. I said, "It fucking feels that way." It was like we were gay lovers. Not even gay, but that's really how that felt. That's what it felt like. I guess I ain't getting that one. Ew. Well, children, I guess this is pretty much the end of that. There's more to it. Always is, always was. But I don't think I meant to sit here and talk about it all day. I went across America. Should have died. Past boundaries of reality. I never have. Controlled things I didn't know I could control. Seen things no movie has ever portrayed. Not as accurately. And no movie ever done as much justice. And now I'm alive. And I get to appreciate every day knowing I should be dead. Because I should be. Because I should be. Because I should be alive with the idea that I should be dead. It is what it is, and it was meant to get here all along. Free will works away a lot differently than you think. You do have it, but not like what you think. You'll end up in places you were always meant to end up. I meant to end up here. And I could tell this is the end of my story.